This is a show about the American entrepreneur, the dreamers, the believers, the achievers. We discover those making a better life for others through a better business. That's what it means to be in MultiView's good company. Money may live in New York and power may live in Washington, but freedom drinks beer in the bars of San Francisco.
Essentially what you have here is two beer geeks who opened up a brewery.
Every time somebody comes in here, they look at that board and there's always something new.
As a brewer, this is where my career really exploded.
The name 21st Amendment came about because Sean and I, when we were looking to open this place, we were looking in historic neighborhoods and we thought it would be fun to research some of the old San Francisco breweries.
The Bay City's rich brewing history spans nearly 2 centuries and is considered to be a birthplace of craft brewing. The first brewery set up shop during the gold rush of 1849.
What we realized is that there was this culture of beer that existed before Prohibition that made all these neighborhoods really vibrant. And Prohibition wiped that whole culture out. So we kind of came around to this idea that the 21st Amendment, which repealed Prohibition, allowed us to sort of reclaim this essence of the neighborhood gathering place that had been lost. And so we felt that really captured the spirit of what we were trying to do.
The building was built in 1924, and when we took it over, it was essentially a warehouse. So we repurposed this space to a brew pub with a production brewery associated with it. The great thing about craft beer is you can kind of do whatever you want. We're not beholden to certain styles, although we like to use those as sort of the path for our beers, but we're also able to add other ingredients and have fun with it.
By experimenting with unique flavors like hints of cigar and San Francisco's famous Fernet liqueur, 21st Amendment is constantly pushing the boundaries of traditional beer styles.
We make this one very popular beer called Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer, which is an American-style wheat beer brewed with real watermelon juice. That Nico actually came up with a recipe way back in the day. When we first opened in 2000, he was all gung-ho on brewing that beer, and I was like, nobody's going to drink that crap. But then the next year, I had floor-to-ceiling watermelons. It just took off.
Never underestimate your beer drinkers. You know, they'll challenge you, but you challenge them, and you never know, man. And that watermelon wheat beer, we just can't keep it in stock. When the sun's out, they love it.
Craft brewing in a pub setting is a marriage of science and cooking. You can really do anything you want, and that's the beauty of it.
We have a small brewery here, and a lot of times we'll do one batch of something just to experiment. We'll never make it again. Sometimes we'll love it, so we'll make it again, and we'll tweak it a little bit here and there.
All right, let's do this. You kind of have to be a scientist for everything to work out, but if you just learn the science of it, you're only going to make the same beer every day for the rest of your life, and who wants that? Today we're doing a Hefeweizen. Part of my training was in Germany, and one of the beers we did was a Hefeweizen. It's close to my heart.
Sean and Nico have given head brewer Zambo free run of his own recipes at the brewery. This allows them to get wildly creative.
I come up with some challenging ideas, and Sean sometimes will say maybe we'd be careful with this or that, but for the most part, it's let's try that idea. That sounds great. Let's see what happens.
Zambo is like Spock. He is focused on the task and the recipe and hitting his numbers when he brews.
You got to be meticulous about hitting the temperature you want. Once this cold grain and warm water are mixed together, they're going to land on a temperature, and we're aiming for a specific temperature. We're actually aiming for 151.5, and that'll give us just a standard fermentation for any beers around 5%.
He's very committed to making sure the specs are right, which yields really good, clean, technical beers, but also, you know, you can experiment with whatever you want. And he's got free reign to do that.
We like everything a little hoppier here. We stretch the style guidelines because this isn't Germany.
The beer's not the only thing that's unique at 21st Amendment.
The 21st Amendment is really steeped in history and tradition. And there was a danger of kind of just going down that route with our labeling and our names and all that. So we do this twist on Americana, like our Brew Free or Die, with Lincoln busting through Mount Rushmore, the Statue of Liberty sitting on the Golden Gate Bridge.
We try to just have fun with this American imagery. To us, it's like if you can't have fun and kind of push the limits, then there's no reason to be doing this.
Both Sean and Nico were drawn to San Francisco for its craft brew scene, so it's no surprise that they crossed paths.
Sean and I kind of got to be friends when we went to a summer brewing course at UC Davis together. And Sean's like, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know, what do you want to do? He says, I want to open up a brew pub. And I said, yeah, that'd be great, but what about the money? Sean said, I don't worry about the money. The money's the easy part. And it was kind of like, you know, Jedi mind trick, don't worry about the money. So I was like, okay, money's fine. So we embarked on this process, and of course, finding the money was the hardest thing we ever did in our lives.
To have the idea in our mind that the money was not going to be a problem was probably the best thing, because if we had known what we know now back then, we probably would have never done this thing. We were on the phone a couple times with bankruptcy lawyers during those first few years. It was a real heady time. I mean, we really struggled there for a while.
Though times were tough, Sean and Nico focused on crafting both great beer and a great atmosphere, which turned regular customers into loyal fans.
I like to say we have like 3 different types of customers here. We have the locals, we have the Giants fans, and then we have people who are into craft beer that will travel all across the country to come out here, because it's like going to Napa Valley to wine country and visiting all these different wineries. You've got all these breweries in the Bay Area now, and people will travel, come out from across the country to enjoy craft beer.
We get a lot of travelers that say, hey, I drink your beer in DC and I love it, so I had to come check it out. We always have 8 or so different beers, so you can always get things on tap here that you can't get anywhere else in the country. So it's really a unique and special kind of experience for people to come and try.
I've got people walking in just excited to try the craziest thing I come up with, or someone who comes in and they're extremely discriminating and they're like, this is the way it's gotta be. And they all leave here smiling, and that makes me smile. When
we opened, Sean and I never thought we'd do anything but have this one place. And our goal was just like to run a great brew pub, make great beer, make great food. And if you'd asked us 10 years ago, you know, will you guys ever sell your beer in Boston or Manhattan, you know, or on Virgin America airplanes, we would have said, what are you, nuts? That's crazy.
For a guy who worked in an office for 6.5 years, wearing a suit and just pushing paper, I get paid to do this now. I mean, I can't even believe it's happening. You know, I think our success in a lot of ways has been, you know, driven because we're so passionate about what we do.
Rudyard Kipling said that San Francisco only had one drawback, that it was hard to leave. But as we continue this trek across the United States to find unique and interesting businesses, we're excited for what we discover further down the road.